In the deepest, most forgotten canyons of the world, where the wind whispers secrets and the rocks hold ancient memories, a legend was born. Not a legend of heroes and gods, but of something far more primal. It was the tale of the stone ape, a colossal guardian forged from the very bedrock of the earth. Picture this, a creature of immense size. Its form that of a gray ape, but its substance was not flesh and blood. It was living granite, marbled with veins of quartz and obsidian. Its eyes were twin geodes, glittering with an intelligence that was both ancient and alien. For eons, it stood sentinel over a hidden passage, a chasm that was said to lead to the planet's very core. Its duty was its existence, and its existence was an unbreakable vow of silence and strength. The ape was a force of nature personified. When it moved, the ground itself would tremble, sending tremors through the canyon walls. Its fists, each the size of a boulder, could pulverize solid rock into dust with a single, terrifying impact. It was less a living being and more a geological event, an earthquake with a heartbeat. The few creatures that dared to wander into its domain learned quickly to fear the sound of grinding stone and the sight of its monolithic shadow falling over them, but its power was defensive. It did not hunt, it did not seek conflict, it simply was. A permanent, unyielding fixture of the landscape, patient as the mountains themselves. But as with all things, even those that seem eternal, change was coming. It arrived not with a roar or a tremor, but with a whisper, a skittering sound lost in the vastness of the canyon. It was the rat. This wasn't any ordinary rodent. It was a creature born of desperation and shadow, its fur the color of dust, its eyes like tiny black beads of oil. It was small, insignificant, a mere speck against the monumental scale of the stone ape. But within this tiny creature burned a hunger that was as vast as the canyon itself. The rat had watched the ape for cycles of sun and moon, studying its slow, deliberate movements, its moments of stillness that lasted for days. It observed the way light played across the ape as crystalline hide and noted the fissures and cracks that were the equivalent of joints. The rat possessed a unique, terrifying secret. Its saliva was not just water and enzymes. It was a potent, slow-acting solvent, a biological acid capable of breaking down the most resilient of mineral bonds. It was a weapon forged not for a quick kill, but for a war of attrition, a war it was about to wage. One moonless night, when the canyon was draped in an impenetrable darkness, the rat made its move. It scurried up the ape's gargantuan leg, a journey that was like climbing a sheer cliff face. The ape, deep in a state of hibernating watchfulness, did not register the minuscule presence. The rat reached a joint, a massive knee where plains of granite and basalt met. And then it began its work. It started to gnaw. Not with force, but with a patient, persistent licking and scraping. Its corrosive saliva pulled in the crevices, beginning its silent, insidious work. The process was agonizingly slow. The rat wasn't chewing through stone. It was chemically dissolving the crystalline matrix that held it together. The outer layer of rock began to soften, turning into a gritty paste. The rat would consume this mineral slurry, its own body metabolizing the stone, a process that felt both unnatural and vital. For hours upon hours, the tiny creature worked, a tireless engine of dissolution. The sound was almost nothing, a faint, wet grinding that was swallowed by the immense silence of the canyon. The stone ape, a being of immense power, felt nothing at first. What was a tiny tickle on its knee when its senses were attuned to the shifting of tectonic plates? But as the hours turned into a full day, a strange, dull ache began to radiate from the joint. It was a sensation the ape had never known, a foreign intrusion into its perfect, stony existence. The rat was relentless. It worked without rest, fueled by the very substance of its colossal foe. Day bled into night, and night into day again. The dull ache in the ape's knee grew into a grinding, agonizing pain. The joint, once a marvel of geological engineering, was weakening. The potent solvent of the rat's saliva had penetrated deep, melting the internal crystalline structures that allowed for movement. When the ape tried to shift its weight, a terrifying grating sound echoed through the canyon, the sound of compromised rock grinding against itself. The guardian, the unbreakable sentinel, was being brought to its knees by something 1,000 times smaller than its own fist. The ape let out a roar, a sound not of anger, but of confusion and pain. It was the roar of a mountain cracking apart from the inside. It tried to reach down, to swat away the source of its torment, but its own vastness was now a liability. Its movements were too slow, too ponderous. The rat, nimble and quick, simply scurried to another part of the joint, always staying one step ahead of the ape's clumsy attempts to defend itself. The great stone hand smashed into its own leg, sending shards of rock flying, but the rat was already gone, resuming its work on a new, untouched section. The battle, if it could be called that, raged for what felt like an eternity. The rat, emboldened by its success, moved from the knee to the hip, then to the massive shoulder joint. Everywhere it went, it left a trail of decay, turning solid stone into a viscous, mineral-rich mud. The stone ape was weakening, its movements becoming more and more restricted. The pain was a constant, a grinding symphony of its own destruction. The guardian of the canyon was being unmade, molecule by molecule. Finally, after an age of silent, knowing horror, the moment came. The ape tried to rise, to make one last stand against the unseen, insignificant enemy that was devouring it from within. But its joints, now the consistency of wet sand, could no longer support its incredible weight. There was a catastrophic series of cracks, a sound like a glacier calving into the sea. The left leg gave way first, then the right. With a deafening, final groan that shook the very foundations of the world, the stone ape collapsed. It fell not like a creature, but like a crumbling mountain, sending up a plume of dust that blotted out the sun. The colossal guardian, the eternal sentinel, was no more. It was just a heap of broken stone, its form still recognizable, but its life, its ancient spirit, extinguished forever. As the dust began to settle, revealing the tragic stone carcass, a strange and terrible transformation began. The rat, which had been feasting on the mineral slurry of the ape's dissolved joints, felt a change ripple through its own body. The minerals it had consumed were not just passing through its system. They were integrating with it. A bizarre alchemical process was taking place. The calcium in its tiny bones began to fuse with the silica and feldspar from the ape. Its skeleton started to crystallize, becoming denser, heavier, and unbelievably strong. The process was excruciating. The rat's body convulsed as its own biological structure was overwritten by a geological one. Its fur began to stiffen, taking on the texture of rough stone. Its skin thickened, becoming a hide of pebble-grit. Its heart, which once beat with frantic, panic speed, began to slow, each beat now a heavy, rhythmic thud, like a hammer striking an anvil. It was being reborn, remade in the image of the very thing it had destroyed. It was no longer just a rat, it was becoming a creature of living stone. As the transformation completed, the rat pushed itself to its feet. Or rather, it heaved its new, massive form upright. Its body had grown, swelling in size and density. It was now as large as a wild boar, and it weighed as much as a cart full of rocks. Each step was a colossal effort, a deliberate, grinding motion that left deep impressions in the ground. It was strong, stronger than it could have ever imagined. Its bones were no longer fragile. They were geological formations, capable of withstanding incredible force. But this strength came at a cost. The speed, the agility, the very essence of what made it a rat was gone. It was now slow, ponderous, a prisoner of its own newfound power. It looked at the remains of the stone ape, the mighty guardian it had single-handedly brought down. Then it looked at its own claws, now thick talons of obsidian, and its hide of mottled granite. The irony was absolute. In its quest for power and its hunger to consume the unconsumable, it had become a lesser version of its victim. The rat turned its heavy head and lumbered towards the canyon passage that the ape had once guarded. There was no thought, no plan. There was only a slow, instinctual pull. It moved to stand sentinel, not out of duty or honor, But because that was all it could do now, the quick and clever had become the slow and strong, the destroyer had become the guardian. And in the silent canyon, under the watchful eyes of the ancient stones, a new legend began to form, a legend not of a gray ape, but of a heavy, stone-bound rat, forever guarding a passage it would never be able to enter. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more tales from the edge of imagination.